On the 30th of July 2022, the 1.16 random seed glitchless world record was beaten. 188 days since Cube 1337X set his own world record of 9 minutes and 8 seconds, by a runner that we'd least expect. With even more major innovation since the last time we saw a record, as well as extremely close calls and even large controversies along the way, we can finally shine some light on a new record. Hours each day, non-stop, at a block game, learning every strategy there is to know, every time save, every world route, every structure's ins and outs, to even every precise movement, just to cut off milliseconds off a run. And in the end, a runner that goes by the name of A.C.I.D Enderman would beat the world record for himself, with a final time of 8 minutes and 37 seconds. With so many recent controversies about top runs and even world records, it's a good feeling to finally know that this is for real, and I'm glad that it comes from a runner like A.C.I.D Enderman, and let me explain why. You see, even before his record, just days prior, Ender, who will now be referring to him as, had been making his way up the leaderboards, and in his own country, he was ranked as second with a personal best of 12 minutes and 11 seconds. Now, a couple of months back, I made a video sharing my predictions on who I believed would be the next runner to claim the record, and I said that runners, with very few exceptions, should almost definitely have a sub-12 PB to qualify as a world record contender. This is one of those exceptions. Now, in no means am I saying that I thought Ender would get the world record, because if I'm being honest, I didn't know who he was up until the record happened. From looking at Ender's former runs, it's extremely notable of how deserving he is of the record, and that will become more apparent as we watch through his run. Like many other skilled runners over the last 6 months had proven, Ender was easily one of the leading contenders, and we were looking at the next world record holder all along. Before we take a look at the run, I would like to run it by you and ask if you would be willing to subscribe if you haven't already. These videos take a ton of effort to record, and it would truly mean the world if you were to help out. Thank you. As Ender's run begins, we see him resetting with the wall. To roll a seed just as good to even better than cubes is an extraordinarily hard task, so to do so much faster, Ender is playing 9 instances of Minecraft to filter out seeds that don't seem necessary to check on initial glance. This also puts the run in favour of being legit, unlike another run, not pointing out any names. Not that I'm putting Ender's run under any suspicion whatsoever. It's 100% legit. Moving on. At the top of the screen, Ender spots a world that looks like it would suit his needs. An ocean. From this ocean, he's hoping for either a treasure or a shipwreck to be able to collect all his necessities for the run just in a few seconds from spawning in. In Ender's case, he gets a shipwreck. From the said shipwreck, he gets almost a stack of wheat, which will completely suffice him for multiple runs to come, and some iron and gold on top of that. He doesn't get quite enough iron to make a full set of iron tools, so he uses the gold for an axe and a shovel, and the iron for a pickaxe, bucket, and flint and steel, as well as some doors and a bow to complete his collection. At just under a minute, he was exiting the shipwreck and making his way over to an underwater ravine, where he builds a nether portal using the lava beneath the pockets of magma at the floor of the ocean, and at 1 minute and 45 seconds, he was entering the nether. As he loads in, he opens the F3 screen and then pauses his game, where he'll watch for a spike on his entity counter at the top of the screen, and if it suddenly increases by 30 or more, then a bastion has likely been loaded in. To find a precise direction of the bastion, Ender completely reduces his field of view and spins around until the other half of his entity counter spikes, roughly the same to what was seen initially, about 30 or more, and as he does, he raises his FOV back to normal and then follows the direction of the spike. He runs through a crimson forest until he finds a soul sand valley with a housing type bastion shortly after. Arguably the best bastion, having plenty of gold blocks, and if done correctly, which a top level runner like Ender will definitely do. The main two routes of manhunt and top down manhunt can be done phenomenally fast. As he arrives, he breaks the top chests, aggravating the piglins and triggering the top down manhunt route. He races down the side of the bastion, down into the depths where the gold is kept, trapping himself in, and the piglins too, by luring them into a hole where he breaks all the gold blocks that are buried around him, feeding it all to the piglins, so they can barter with him. The items that Ender is looking for is ender pearls, string, fire resistance, and obsidian, with a little bit of extra luck, iron too, since the durability of his axe is beginning to run low, and he still has a long blaze fire up next. He loots the double chest nearby to his piglins, but doesn't get anything too significant, just some armor. But as he comes back to check his trades, he sees that he has everything he needs besides one important thing. He has more than enough pearls and fire res, enough string, but is ever so slightly short on obsidian. Not to worry though. At the top of the bastion, he still has 2 chests he can check and pray for obsidian inside of. Lucky enough for him, he gets enough to total him up to 18 obsidian. Not quite enough for double travel, but in the end, you can't have everything. Leaving the bastion at 4 minutes and 40 seconds, he's barely 10 seconds ahead of Cube, which is uncomfortably close to the record. So to put things in Ender's favour, he finds out that the fortress was right next to the bastion all along, and at 4:50, he was in the fortress. He lowers his render distance, which will help increase blaze spawns, but also his wither skeleton and other miscellaneous mobs too. But with some simple maneuvering, he can simply just make his way past the mobs with ease. His first blaze he kills drops a rod, where he then crafts an iron axe to replace his gold one as the durability is getting a little low. He quickly runs into a pack of blazes and some wither skeletons too, neither being a problem, quickly taking care of the skeletons and moving on to the blazes. With his first blaze dropping a rod, that good luck seemed to rub off on the other blazes too, because after killing 5 more with relative ease too, he had all the rods he needed to exit the nether. Pause. Look at this fortress split for just a second. Ender entered at 4:50 and was preparing to leave the nether at just 5:30, with an overwhelming amount of mobs, and it seems like an overwhelming amount of luck too. Good luck that being, going 6 for 6 on rod drops, being 1 in 128. He just set himself a minute ahead of Cube, just like that, building his blind travel portal and exiting out of the nether at 5 minutes and 49 seconds. Normally, or what we've typically seen over the last 6 months to a year, is runners using the program known as the Ninja Brain bot, lining an eye of Ender with the crosshair with perfect precision, and letting the bot do the rest of the work, giving you a location and a percentage, this information referring to the stronghold. While nothing is going to change that, in most cases, runners will use this information to build a second portal in the nether to reach the stronghold 8 times as fast. But Ender is just short on obsidian, so all he can do is hope that he has a close stronghold. He puts all the information required into the bot, and after the bot adds up the math, it tells Ender that there's an 100% chance of the stronghold just 344 blocks away. With just a little bit of ocean travel, he passes by an island, and on the other side, the stronghold, exposed out of the ocean, portal room included. At just 6 minutes and 55 seconds, Ender was in the portal room, 5 seconds later, in the end, securing himself far ahead of any pace we've seen in a world record, and one of the fastest paces in history, just behind one singular run. A run by Crooks, where he got the world record blind, the world record end enter, and choked a low 7-minute record all in the same run. I won't go into great detail on it now, but don't worry, you won't have to wait much longer to see it. Ender throws a pearl to the main island, crafts explosives for the dragon's death, and gets prepared for her to perch. I may have mocked it and teased myself about it in the last video, but I think you know what time it is. Ender has played this run phenomenally, in my opinion, being one of, if not, the best world record we've ever seen in the category's history. Going from a pretty average pace run, these days anyway, to an out of this world pace with borderline perfect and precise gameplay along the way, and with a little bit of luck sprinkled on top, Ender has made it into the position he's in right now. 188 days. Just let that sink in. It may not even come close to the 279 day time spent between Brentilda's and Cube's world record, but it's still one of the longest standing records in 1.16 Random Seed Glitchless history, and who else than an almost unknown runner to take the crown for himself, which is exactly what happened on the 30th of July 2022. And 37 seconds is the final time, being the first run ever to be completed in under 9 minutes, and making a dent to the 8-minute barrier too. While I didn't know Ender until this run actually happened, I'm extremely glad and proud that we have him as the new record holder. There's not many more deserving for the crown than Ender himself. Make sure to go show Saggy Enderman some love. At the time of recording, he's not even at 500 subscribers, which for a world record holder is just not acceptable. Thank you all so much for watching this analysis on the new Minecraft speedrun world record. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see all of you in the next video. Goodbye everyone.